Nelson, what an amazing role model, and in his mentorship in his family, he's been training Giggles. I learned, I went to see an event that Giggles organized at the legislature the other day, part of our Idle No More, you know, part of our people that are also standing up for another very important woman in our life, our Mother Earth. And just to see our young people speaking up, it reminded me that every time that we get an opportunity like this, let's invite our young people to start to train about public speaking and to understand about, you know, how we raise up our young chiefs and all of the training that takes. So I really appreciate that role modeling, Alec, and that reminder to me. And it signaled me to invite my son, Copper Thunderbird, up to introduce Dr. Evan Adams. And so he's been practicing and training, and so I wanted to invite Copper Thunderbird up to introduce Dr. Evan Adams.
Hi, my name is Kelly. My traditional name is Copper Thunderbird, and I am honored to introduce Dr. Evan Adams and to say thank you for him being here today to talk about this important issue. Dr. Evan Adams, born November 15, 1966, is an actor, playwright, and medical doctor. He is Coast Salish from the Salian First Nation. Dr. Adams has worked extensively with First Nations health program in Canada, including HIV/AIDS education and alcohol and drug treatment. In 2012, Dr. Adams completed a medical degree at the University of Calgary. He now practices family medicine in Vancouver and serves as director of the Aboriginal Health Program in the University of British Columbia's Faculty of Medicine. In April 2007, Dr. Adams was appointed first ever Aboriginal Health Physician Advisor for the province of British Columbia. And since April 1st, 2012, Dr. Adams has been the Deputy Provincial Health Officer for British Columbia. My favorite movie that he acted in was Smoke Signals. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Adams.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Very smooth. You definitely have a skill, so I hope you will, or a talent. I hope you will continue to introduce people and use your voice in good places. Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here. February 15th is one of my favorite days of the year because of half-price chocolates. But also because we get to talk about this very important subject. It's an awkward one for many, many people. I don't quite know why. Certainly when maybe I was just lucky. I grew up in a house full of women with my mom and my 4 sisters who are all older. My dad was away, like many men are, making a living. So I certainly grew up in a female environment, and it was definitely very second nature for me to witness and understand and empathize with the lives of women. Even as a young person, still figuring out life, it was clear to me that sexism was a big part of our lives. The way that I was treated versus how my sisters were treated were different. So I think that for many of us, we do need to examine our own beliefs about who's important and who's not important. And I think that we also need to be mindful of how we use our language every day. I also, as a young person, perhaps like too many of our young people, would witness domestic violence and partner violence and family violence far too often in my family members, my extended family around me. But people change, and I know this to be true, and for those of you who don't know, men who offend can grow and change, just like all of us can grow and change. Certainly as a young man, I remember one couple in particular where he would hurt her to the point of putting her in the hospital, but they're still together and they're in their 70s. And he doesn't hurt her anymore. I hear from their family that he's not a strong young bully anymore. Now he's an old man, and they say we don't allow him to hurt her. You know, we're the grown-ups now. We wouldn't allow that, even if that's the kind of person he still was. And I don't think he is still that person he was when he was younger. One thing I do know too is that when we're stressed, we're at our worst. We know that from looking at men who commit violence, that very often they don't do it just for fun, just because. They do it when their lives are terrible, when they've lost a job, when they're really poor, when someone has been hurting them, when bad things have been happening to them. And I know you know this to be true, because we've all been under stress. We've all been horrible people under horrible circumstances. It's definitely easier to be a good person when times are good. So domestic violence is not about a kind of person. It can be a bit about a situation. And certainly in my work is about trying to support people's lives so they never get to that terrible place, to the place of breaking, to the place of where they're a danger to themselves or to their families. I was an actor for a long time. I really loved being an actor. I did it with all my heart. When I was playing Thomas Builds the Fire, and some of you know this already, when I was playing Thomas in Smoke Signals, I was playing a woman. In my heart, I was playing the most beautiful old woman in the world. Because I really felt that young people were not seeing the kind of dignified and wonderful elders that I got to see when I was growing up. Because being kindly, singing for people or sharing your language is very generous. You know, you don't have to do it. It's a work. Certainly, Butch, when I would dance with you, I knew it was work. It was hard to dance, but you would say to me, it makes people happy. It makes us older people happy to see young people singing and dancing and doing good things. And I didn't understand it at the time, but of course now that I'm older, I know how important it is. But I did want to have a more direct effect on people and to help the people like my sisters were doing. My sisters all work for our community. And so I went into medicine, which is a very long training, and one of the best things about our training is that we get to see tens of thousands of patients in the course of our getting certified. And I remember one woman in particular, a woman who had been stabbed by her husband a few times. I didn't know the circumstance. All I knew was the medical case and that I was looking after her. And I remember seeing her for the first time. She had come out of surgery. I inherited her after she had had a surgical intervention and they had saved her life in the OR. And I remember looking at her and thinking, oh, you're just a normal, nice woman. You're not I don't know what I thought she would be. I don't know what I thought a bad woman would be. Some kind of other. But she was just a woman who might be a relative. And I spoke to her, and before I did even spoke to her, I arranged for her to go to a shelter. It was a lot of work to find her a shelter. It's amazing how many women need shelters. It's amazing how many women were hurt in that city that I was working in, that they filled all these spots in these houses across the city. But I found her one. And she said, I don't need that. I'm going back. And I was shocked that she would go back. This was the third time he had stabbed her, and she had been in hospital. And I was shocked because she seemed like such a normal person with normal options and a life that she could happily go to without someone trying to kill her. and I was furious with her. My thought was she needed to make another choice. And I remember when he came in to the room when I was with her, I got no sense of danger from him. He didn't seem like a bully. He didn't seem like someone who would hurt me. He didn't seem like someone with ready to go crazy. I felt no problem looking him in the eye and going toe to toe. I'm not a big person, and clearly she loved him. But I just stood and looked at him to see who is he? And he was, again, a man just like any of us who we might encounter in our families. And I told her in front of him, this is the third time he's tried to kill you. And his attacks are getting worse and they're getting closer together. And I'm worried he's going to hurt you again. The next time he might kill you. She ignored that. She said he's changing. And she left. And like many patients, I don't know what happened to her. All I could do was try and learn from that and be reminded again about the preciousness of the people around us, that we need to speak up. And if I couldn't save him and her, I'm worried about what you're doing. I'm worried about this pattern. And then who would? I came to Vancouver after my medical training, and I worked in the downtown east side. I wanted to work with Aboriginal people, and the most distinct Aboriginal population in the province. One of the largest Aboriginal communities is in the downtown east side. And there, of course, half the people there are women. And if you're addicted and a man in the downtown east side, you do a lot of paid crime to come up with enough money to feed your habit. And if you're a woman in the downtown east side with an addiction issue, there are a lot of men who are ready to degrade and exploit you so you can get the money that you need to feed your dependents. And it was really, really horrible to witness hundreds of our sisters down there, and none of them wanted to be there, believe me. It's not very fun down there after, a few days, a few weeks, certainly not more than a few months. They want out. They want to be back with their families and their kids, and their addiction is an albatross, a weight on them. But what was most horrifying were the number of men who had their hooks in those women and wouldn't let them lift themselves out of the lives they had. The number of men who were ready to exploit them and use them and keep them down and use their power over them. And included in that are the police. We know the police have hurt our women. We know our police have stigmatized our women and bullied them and used them and neglected them and even let them be hunted to death. So I'm not just talking to you as individuals or you as caregivers or you as people who support families and women, but I'm talking about institutions and structures. And yes, the oppression of our women is alive and well. And it's not just alive and well. It's pretty awful. And so we're asking, and thank you, Paul, for leading this, we're asking you to not allow this to continue, that we cannot stand by and say, yes, go ahead, hurt our family members, go ahead, take them and do what you will with them, go ahead, degrade them and exploit them to the point of their deaths. We can't do that. It's not right. And we must continue to do what is right, and that means standing up and saying the lives of our women are important and they're valued, and we will do whatever it takes to protect them. So I did many, many years in the downtown east side trying to trying to help make those lives better. And I'm very proud of that time, but it was a very sad time as well, in that I was only one person trying to make a change. And I realized that maybe some of the structural changes would help more instead of trying to keep individuals alive for one more day. So one of the things that we do, or in my office and in my work, is we form policy. We form policy, and one of the basic things that we do in my office is to give First Nations people more say in their care structures. So it's not the police who should be deciding the health and care and services of our women. It should be us. It should be us. Don't let the police be in charge of that. Don't let the government be in charge of that. Let us be in charge of that. And that's what self-determination is. I'm not mixing a political message with the message of health, because I'm here to talk about health. But self-determination is a social determinant of health. It's core. You cannot be healthy unless you can steer your own course without interference from others. And if the government or the police take away our ability to help each other, or if they're given that job and we're not, if we let them have that job and we don't take it out, then we're part of the problem. And so here in BC, I'm proud to say, the chiefs have been leading the charge, and I don't know how many of you love to hate chiefs or how many of you love to hate other groups, but we can be organized and we can put aside our small ideas about who we can trust and who we can't trust, and we can say, we can work together, we, this group, we men, we Aboriginal people, we First Nations families and tribes, we as First Nations individuals can do this work. And we can ask others to help us to do this work. And we can work together effectively and efficiently to do this work. And I hope you all know and understand that the protection of women, the parts of our families, really our families, women are our families, the protection of them is sacred, holy work, not just the physical work of protecting them. It's not just about the spiritual work or the intellectual work of understanding and feeling that they are worth protecting. It's really about doing it with all our being and saying, let's keep a good balance, because this society doesn't give us proper balance. I'm so pleased to see so many men here today, because the care of others, and remember I've been working in care of others for about 12 years now. The rooms are filled with women. Caring for others is women's work. And I very often have said in my meetings, where are the young men? Where are the men? Does no one ask the men to help care for others? This room is lopsided. We can ask men to help with care, because we see it very, very often. You know each other. You know, many of you have a lifetime of caring for others, but we don't formally ask. But we ask women, because we think, oh yeah, women can do that because they know how. So here today, we're asking you to care and to stand up and to be smarter and faster and to dig deeper and to give a hand. I don't mean to patronize you, because I know many of you work really hard in this arena. I just want to be clear that today is an ask. And I hope you will ask others, if you yourselves are already working for the betterment of our families, that we do ask others to stand with us and to be able to speak freely and openly about this awkward subject. I don't know how we got here. It's not completely our fault to find ourselves where we are, absolutely. But it is completely up to us to change things. And they are changing, and we are healing. In my office, will be doing its small part. My office, the Office of the Provincial Health Officer, we monitor the health of British Columbians, and we report on the health of British Columbians, and we will be issuing a report on the health of Aboriginal women in the province of BC in conjunction with the First Nations Health Authority. We'll be looking at issues like women's cancers. We'll be looking at domestic violence and family violence. We will look at disease rates and treatment rates for women. We'll look at the special vulnerabilities or the special obstacles that women face in their health. Of course, we'll look at that phenomenal thing that only women can do, have babies. And we want to look at the lives of women, because the lives of women and the lives of men are different. They just are. Doesn't mean they're not equal. It just means that they're different. So this report has been under construction for 2 years now. We're probably still a year away from publication, but we will do our part in trying to continue to talk about the lives of women so that we can do our very best for them, because they deserve it. Nima, thanks very much.